Good evening, everybody, and welcome to the Block 9 Podcast Live Lounge.
Evening all, how are we all doing on this fine Thursday evening after a brilliant 6-2 win for the Argyle in the Virtue Cup against the Tottenham under-21s. But what a performance, and a standout one by the young Tegan Finn and also Seb Campbell getting on the score sheet, and many more as well in that game on the same evening that we did the same scoreline to Norwich in that championship game. So tonight, yes, we have with you the grumpy loyal Andy. Good evening, Andy.
Good evening, everyone. How are you doing?
Good. And Carl, evening to you.
Good evening. It's been nice to join the live lounge for the first time in ages due to work. So yeah, good to be back on a Thursday.
Excellent. And we don't have Gavin tonight. He's still travelling down the M5, I reckon now, after a long day of meetings, so couldn't quite make it. But of course, to step in, we've got to step in. To come in and join us, we have Chris Errington of the Herald, for those of us that are old enough, for Plymouth Live, for like Spencer Argo on tour in the chat, who's too young to even necessarily know what that's about. Evening, Chris. It's good to have you on. How are you doing?
I'm very good, thanks, Mike. Andy and Carl, good evening to you. And thanks very much for the invite. Looking forward to having a chat about all things Argyle, as it says just behind your left shoulder, Mike.
Exactly. And there's an element of a little bit about your time as an Argyle fan. And I will just start off, obviously you'll be aware, Chris, because you did the interview with them, but spoke to Aaron from Argyle Life earlier when he messaged me saying, oh, he said, we're pitting out the interview on My Argyle Life with Chris Errington at 6. He said, and obviously both of us didn't know. He obviously didn't see my earlier tweet in the morning. But that is available. And I because we're all friends, it is up there on YouTube. So there's a little plug for them. So My Argyle Life, an hour and a half. Wow.
This is way too much. This is overkill. So I apologise to everybody, but we'll try and make it worth your while.
Oh, we're going to Chris Errington everybody out between the two pods this week.
I never thought I'd see Chris with a selfie stick.
Yeah, that was at Cheltenham Town. I remember it because when we started doing videos and Facebook Lives for Plymouth Live, somebody had to buy me a selfie stick because I wasn't really aware there was such a thing. I think they went into a Poundland or something like that and found that selfie stick.
No,
and
Chris, they went into
the range. Is the main stand at Cheltenham. So, yeah.
Yeah, they went into the range, Chris, not Poundland, even though other competitions are. That's where I work, if you
yeah, okay, yeah.
So, but and obviously you've been kind enough to share some of your little videos there that you've done. I think it's great. You know, we want to bring as much content to the audience that we can in many different ways. So, having that, be there when you send it to me to put that up there, and I know you're trying to sort of get into some match ones, post-match ones and that as well. This is, the world we live in is content. Content is king more than ever. So yeah, I mean, to be fair, Chris, I mean, you're so used to being involved in everything, doing these vlogs just comes naturally, surely.
Well, it's a very different world to when I started reporting on Argyle for the Herald way back in 1997. I mean, the internet was hardly a thing now, and here we are talking about content and all the various ways that Argyle fans, football fans can get their fix, find out their information, discuss things, inform each other about things. So, yeah. But that's part of the fun. It'd have probably got a bit boring if it was the same thing for so long. But to be able to do, podcasts like this, Mike, is really good because it's another way of connecting with fans, connecting with supporters of a club that I've spent a lot of my lifetime following around the country, and highs and lows, but that's the life of an Argyle fan, I'm afraid, isn't it?
Cool, yeah, and you've gone through some of those at all extreme levels, and just to make you feel bad, although I'm certainly not the youngest one in here, but I was 15 years old. If I'm led to believe by my great researcher ChatGPT in 1995 when you joined, so I remember going to that Wembley game, but we'll come on to a bit of that.
Yeah.
just to give a flavour, because it's a great job that you do. I know obviously you're a Crystal Palace fan, for those that don't know, but yeah, we'll forgive him, as we always do, of course.
We'll give it that one, Chris.
Yeah.
The story is my first ever game that I watched at Selhurst Park was against Plymouth Argyle in November 1974. So completely sort of randomly, all these years later, the team that I've followed since I was a very, very small, their first home game against the team that I've spent nearly 30 years reporting on. So, yeah, strange how things work out like that, isn't it?
Yeah, no, it is. It is. But obviously, you must enjoy it because you're still doing it. Look. So yeah, we'll come on to a little bit more of a timeline for Chris. So in the show, obviously, for those that joined us, good evening and welcome to the Block 9 podcast. We bring you this live lounge show, which aims to try and mix things up with some different conversation pieces. We've done with Gavin. We've done a lot about the club finances, and obviously, a lot of stuff that's come out recently. Chris, as you know, the new impending CEO, which I think probably we all know who that's likely to be now. Might have done a little presentation at that forum if that's the way it's going to be, and that's good to look forward to. And actually, Gavin and I were speaking earlier, and next Thursday we are going to do a segment on what the role of a CEO at a football club is. And if it is likely to be Paul Byrne, I'm going to say it, then it could well be someone coming from a non-football environment as a CEO, and how we'll have to adjust to that. But firstly, a few people have joined us in the comments already. So Spencer, as I alluded to earlier, the young lad. Chris, he was the little lad when I saw you at the forum that stood up and asked a couple of questions. He's joined us tonight. Nick Tomlinson, obviously PAFC Displays, is in. Good evening, Nick. Andy Prowse, who's, I'm sure, sipping his tea or coffee from his
Grumpy Loyal
in there, yeah. Nikki's in tonight. Evening, Nikki. Andy Prowse also says, Chris, you must get fed up with good news reporting being trashed by pop-ups. The old good old website full of ads. But that's what pays the bills.
That's what pays the bills. That's what allows me to go to Burton Albion on Saturday and do my bits and pieces. So I think if anyone in the world can find a way of making websites profitable without adverts, I think there's an awful lot of media organisations out there that would love to hear from you.
Yeah, exactly. And then we've got Graham Byrne is also in tonight. Why is the Evening Herald so expensive? Is that £2.15 a copy, Chris? Does anyone still buy it?
It's quality. What can you get for £2.15 these days?
Yeah, exactly. Don't even know if we sell a bargain.
4 or 5 miles by probably. No.
So, and Stephen Vaughan, who's also a friend of the pod and joins our WhatsApp group, says good evening as well to everybody. Nick Tomlinson did say, I've seen another comment, I remember being in one of the Chris's podcasts with Plymouth Live a few times too.
Yeah.
So there we go.
Nick does great work, doesn't he, guys, with PAFC displays, and there were some new flags on display.
They look
Tuesday,
fantastic.
wasn't it? I think Tom Cleverley and Ben Pepple and was it Matty Sorinola? I think.
Matty Sorinola, Hazard, and he'll tell us. I think Hazard, Brendan Galloway, Pepple. I'm sure there was a fourth, but possibly then Sorinola. So I remember taking photos and sharing them on the account. They look good. Nick comes on the show every now and then as well, so I'm sure we'll get him on again soon.
We'll have to drop Nick a message to see if he can get one for Chris. I think it's about time now. Been there long enough.
30-year flag.
Yeah. To fly in the Sir Gordon Sparks hand as well.
Oh dear.
I know, it's terrible, isn't it? So, right, let me switch to our presentation slide. Hang on a minute.
Where's Chris gone?
Yeah, I've got to squeeze more of us in here, so bear with. There we go. There we go. God, I can't block out the guests. If anything, I'd have to get rid of Carl or Andy.
Oh yeah, it wouldn't be the first time, would it?
That's it. Let me just make that a bit better. There we go. So yeah, for those that are just joining us tonight, we do tend to throw a few slides together just to bring a visual element to what we discuss. For those that are listening on the podcast channels post, of course, we will talk through what is being displayed and shown on the screen. So, well, there hasn't been much news. When I say news, I want to separate this from the press conference, although I know this was noted, and I thought, I love my little background, and I'm sure Chris will appreciate the journalistic style press office that's on this background.
I haven't seen a typewriter like that for a long time.
I thought that's what I saw you using the other week in the cup. No. But yeah, so obviously Daryl Flavhaven will coach the keepers for his last game against Burton, and Rhys Wilmot will be stepping up from the youth to temporarily to cover that position while they recruit for a new goalkeeping coach. So yeah, we wish him well. Obviously, he's not done a bad job, has he, Chris, in the time that he's been with us?
No, he hasn't. I think he's helped develop the keepers. If you think back, he obviously was working with Michael Cooper when he first joined the club in January 2024. Ian Foster appointed him during his time as head coach, and I've only really met Daryl a couple of times, but a very nice guy. He's been a good goalkeeping coach at a number of clubs now. Sad to see him leave, but wish him all the very best for the future.
Yeah, no, absolutely. So there you go, just a snippet for that one. So I'm going to go straight into the Virtual Cup. I do have the clip this one, Argyle TV from YouTube, of the goals, which I'll come to in a second as well. I know I was sort of watching it on my iPad while I was trying to do some Block 9 work, because I always have to try and squeeze in what I can. So I wasn't fully focused on the whole game, but starting off and then going, we scored already. We've scored again. And we've scored again. So, yeah, I mean, what a brilliant game. I know there's no pressure on the game. And Chris, I'm going to come to you again first because you were obviously there. But there was no pressure on the players like the league is. But, you know, we'll touch upon Bim Peppel's press conference a little bit later. But the opportunity, which is so important in these cup games for these players that are on the sort of fringe of trying to get into the squad. Bim himself not having the best start as well. You know, he managed to get a goal in that game, you know, and that's great for him, of course. And Oseni on the score sheet as well, Finn getting 2, and obviously Campbell getting his goal as well. So with Ross scoring that first one. So it was great to see a mixture of goal scorers, but overall they just seemed to play so well. And all right, it might be Tottenham's under 21s, but we still had a fairly young squad, in fairness too, Chris.
Yeah, I mean, that was a point that Tom Cleverly made after the game, Mike, that it wasn't as if Argyle were a particularly old or experienced team. And I think he was keen to make the point, and rightly so, that when you've got Tegan Finn, Caleb Roberts, Seb Campbell coming on as a sub, they were playing against a lot of players of their own age, or maybe slightly older. I did double check today that Tottenham team that started had 2 current England under-18 internationals and an England under-19 international. And so the fact that Tegan Finn was the best player on the pitch, even though he was against players of that calibre and that ilk, speaks well. Yes, it's Tottenham under-21s in the Virtue Trophy. Does it really matter? Confidence is a big thing in football, Mike. And the fact that Matthias Ross, Bim Peppel, Tegan Finn, Seb Campbell all got their first goals for Argyle, that will give them a huge boost. And I don't think it can do any harm at all for the futures of all of those players in the coming weeks and months.
No, I mean, if I was Tottenham's youth coach, I'd have been going, Mr. Cleverly, this Tegan Finn, can we have a chat? But it's great. I mean, I know Sam, his dad, I sort of chat to him every now and then, and you know, he might be watching tonight as well. He said to me, he can't move after that game, and I said he's only 16. What's the matter with him? But full 90 minutes, 2 goals, and as you'll see in a second, a 9.5 FOTMOB rating, which I can't remember the last time I saw one of those. Carl, I know obviously you weren't able to watch it because of work and stuff as well. You caught the highlights, but sort of 42% possession to Argyle. You can see on the screen there on these FOTMob stats. Total shots 21 to Tottenham's 12. I mean, they did have few and far between. 9 on target, obviously, of which 6 of those went in for us. 5 for Tottenham, which 2 went in. I mean, you can see the momentum graph. They're sort of firmly showing the dominance from Argyle in that first half. I mean, Carl, off the back of that, are we going to see Tegan Finn start on Saturday potentially then?
Yeah, I'd like to think so. I think after a performance, as he put in against Spurs under 21s on Tuesday night, won't do him any harm. I think he needs to be playing more regularly. He's got some serious quality. I know he wants to try and protect him a little bit, but he's got his first professional deal now. You can see when he talks, he's itching to play, and he just possesses so much goal threat ability. I think it's hard to keep him out of the team. Yes, he's only 17, but if you're old enough, you're good enough. And I'm sure Cleverly will keep his head level and guide him along the right path. But I think it's hard to drop him for Saturday, and I think we need our best talents on the pitch, and he's definitely one of them. And Seb Campbell again coming up through the ranks, another top player by the sounds of it. It's good for the academy, and obviously with Folkestone Park on the horizon and going to Category 2 academy, it's only going to be a brighter future for us.
Yeah, no, it's great to see, isn't it? And I think, Andy, that's, sort of people criticise, we've discussed it and debated it, a lot on the show, the whole infrastructure and, where we invest the money and why and sort of covering the debates on, spending it on the squad and just doing that and only that. This is what it's all about, isn't it? If we want to not only retain the local youth talent, but then bring other youth talent in, then we've got to have the facilities to do that. And with the likes of Tegan Finn coming through as the youth has been set up over the last few years, it's great that we can produce quality like that.
Yeah, absolutely. How exciting for Tegan Finn, and Sam to score on Tuesday night. It was their first goals for the club, and one of them's a record breaker already. This is like having these youngsters coming in from whatever age. I think Tegan's been with us from a very young age, and he's come up through the ranks, been spotted and nurtured as well. This is what's going to happen now with Cleverly. He's going to nurture him even further as a player, and I'm sure Tegan's going to have a really bright future, hopefully for us. But I think he made the right decision to stay with us rather than go off and play for some academy somewhere like Spurs and all that. He's got a lot of ability, and he scored his 2 goals the other night, one with his right, one with his left, and it just goes to show he's got that quality. He's not scared to hit it, and yeah, fair play to the guys.
No, and I think the other side to it, I mean, I've just pulled up on the screen now the FOTMob ratings. I'll start from actually back to front. So Hazard 6.1 obviously did, as it was noted in the press conference afterwards, about suffering a little bit of pain, soft tissue damage. For those that have watched us for a while, paramedic Emma, who we try and get on when she's also not working shifts. She used to be a sports physio, and she said that soft tissue damage, especially if it's behind the knee, it's a difficult one to recover from. So, but obviously Cleverly said he should be available for Saturday, but there's no likelihood I think he will start. And you could see that actually, Chris, couldn't you, in their, especially in I think it was their first goal, where he went down for it wasn't really. He should have collected that comfortably, and probably fully fit he would have done.
Yeah, it was a bit of a mixed game for Connor, because he made quite a good early save in about the 10th or 11th minute, not long after Argyle had gone ahead, and he made a pretty good stop early in the second half as well, and he was looking quite sharp. But then I think in the last half an hour or so, his performance level did dip a little bit. Definitely the first goal, I'm sure he would say himself that he should have saved, and the second goal, was a bit of a mix-up as well. So, when you're out for 3.5 months like he's been, you're going to be a little bit rusty. There's going to be a little bit of uncertainty about how good your knee is after the rehab. When we saw Tom Cleverly at lunchtime today, he said that Connor had been to see a specialist on Wednesday. It was a pre-planned visit. It was always going to be today, Wednesday, that he went to see him. He's got the sign off from the specialist. everything's good and okay. So I think that will help Connor feel better that, okay, I'm ready to go. And it's just the case now of when the manager decides to pick him, because you're in that situation where I think we'd all say, having seen Connor on Tuesday, he needs games.
Yeah.
But do you put him straight in? And if you don't put him straight in, then how does he get that sharpness if he's not playing? And that's that age-old problem of players coming back from long-term injuries. How do you integrate them back into the team without doing it too soon and risking a recurrence, but also not leaving it so long that they're never going to get sharp because they're not getting game time?
No, I mean, I'll keep on this point actually, because I was going to bring it up in the selection for later, but as you've sort of expanded on it, I think it's a good time to do it. I mean, Carl on the shows has been very much vocal of, you got to pick your best players in. Myself, Gavin, and I think Andy to a degree, correct me if I'm wrong, Andy, but have been very much, the view is certainly from us on that, is that when the momentum's there with you, and the way Hammond has come on so strong and really, really come of age in the last 3 or 4 games, you're breaking up that rhythm, and it is difficult because we do need to get Hazard back into the games, and these virtual cup games are good for that. But also, you don't want to then aggravate the injury, like you said, and you don't really want to upset the apple cart where, all right, we lost on Saturday and it was a poor, aimless passing game from us. But yeah, I mean, I'm guessing, Chris, if it was in your shoes and you were Tom, I'm feeling you wouldn't put him in on Saturday because of that little niggle at the moment.
Yeah, I mean, Tom said he's fit and available for selection, and I did ask him, if he said to, or decided that Connor was his choice, was he 100% sure about it? And he said he was. So I would be surprised if he played Connor because he's just had one game. But equally, if you think he's the first choice keeper, if you think that long term he's going to be the one you're going to be calling upon, then you're probably best to get him in there and get him up to speed as quick as you can. We haven't got another Virtue Trophy game now till I think it's November the 11th.
Oh, is that
so it's just league games for the next few weeks. So it will be difficult to get him game time if he's not playing. So I think it might well be Luca, but I wouldn't be totally shocked if it was Connor Hazard, if Tom Cleverley thinks that Connor's international caliber will benefit the team.
Yeah, no, fair enough. I mean, my view is, I think Hammond's distribution has been brilliant of late, and I think that's where he's certainly started to command his box a bit more, that's for sure. So I'll move on from it because I'm conscious, as always am, of our time on the show. But yeah, the back line of Galloway, Ross, Waidu, and Edwards, you had Galloway with a 6.3, Ross with an 8, obviously scored that early goal and does look a threat in the box, which is good, something we've been lacking at times on our set pieces. Waidu having another strong performance at 7.3, and Edwards coming in with a 6.9, but good for him to get a game with obviously still missing 2 matches. In the midfield then, Lorne McCabe 7.4, who Gavin said to me on the phone earlier when he did watch the match on Sky, he said he thought he was superb and a great asset as well. I think Argyle have got there on loan. Roberts with a 7, also a good performance. And then at the front line there, Benarous 8.6, Aseni 7.7, 9.5 as we've said earlier on Finn, and 8.1 to Peppel. Chris, sticking with just this game overall, who else really stood out for you then in that game on Tuesday night?
Apart from Tegan?
Yeah,
I mean, Tegan's 2 goals and 2 assists is impressive, isn't it? 4 goal contributions in one game. Interesting about Eamon Benarous. I thought he had a really good game. He set up Ben Peppel for his goal. He played as a sort of left wing back, left-sided attacking player, and there's definitely a player there. He has got quality.
Yeah,
I'm not sure we've necessarily got the right. I think Tom Cleverley's not 100% sure where his best position is, where he fits into the scheme of things for Argyle. He's got a lovely left foot. I think his delivery can be good. I think his set pieces can be good. He's obviously had, it was the best part of 3 years without playing any first team football, which is which is incredible that he's even playing professional football now, having been out for so long. It's going to be a tricky one with Eamon, but there is a player there, and I think Tom and the coach need to try and find a way of, integrate his best position, because I think he could be a good player for Argyle without doubt.
Yeah, I tell you what, Chris, he did stand out for me in the QPR Cup game when he linked up with Patterson and Hatch, on that left-hand side. He really impressed me, and we were quite excited, to see Patterson and Benose link up. And then obviously those injuries for Patterson kicked in again, and obviously he's fit for Saturday. So yeah, it's going to be interesting. It's who is the right player to link him up with, but he can definitely, as Peppel, obviously was the resulting cross from. He can pit a good ball into a really good spot, and that's what excites me about him. Andy, anything for you to say on the game before I move on to show the goals and that in a second?
No, I just think a really good performance from the team. They took it to Tottenham early on, and Tottenham, they weren't a bad side, as Chris has mentioned. They had players in there of good caliber. They weren't a bad side. The keeper was a bit rubbish, to be fair. But 6-2 in any game, whether it's a league game, whether it's a Virtue Cup game, when you score 6 goals, that's going to boost your confidence. That's going to get you, flying for the weekend, hopefully.
Yeah, no, I'm going to come to the comments now, because Voodoo's doing his lovely trolling to Chris in the comments, as he does on X at times. So I'll just read a few more out before I show the goals for those that have joined us late on. Stephen Cooper, who also has his Block 9 All Things Argyle fleece and his 2 polo shirts that he's been waiting on for me for almost 2 months now, but he got a mug as a gesture of his patience as well for that. So obviously myself, Andy and Carl rocking the tops.
Yeah, Chris didn't get the memo tonight, did he?
So these they look really good. I'm really pleased with these. So he said, Chris, do you remember Sunday morning playing at the Stadiscum?
Horsham playing fields, yes, I do. Steve, I remember Steve, on the Sunday morning. That was back in the day when I'd sort of cover a game for Argyle or for the Herald on a Saturday, and then we'd play various games. Horsham Rangers were the team that me and Ross Reed, who's another reporter that's covered Argyle for years and years.
Comment. Yeah.
We managed the team, so good memories of Sunday morning football.
Yeah, excellent. David Mortimer, always brilliant on X. Bradders and James decided which goalkeeper is playing on Saturday. Always good with those little tweets that he pits out. Also, Stephen Cooper, again, nice to see you get lots from Clevs. Do you think he's our man? I do. I think a great guy, works hard, which I think the club have always said actually in the forum about his sort of almost 6 to 8 shifts or whatever it is he does. I think Chris, I think for us to get him is a coup in one respect, and I think as long as we do, support him right, then I think he is in it for the long run, isn't he? I mean, obviously until United come calling for him, obviously.
Yeah, I mean, he's mentioned in 2 or 3 press conferences that one of the things that appealed to him about coming to Argyle was the chance to have some stability, to work at a club, to build a club up. Obviously, he was at Watford, and I think he probably felt that he wasn't given enough time there. I think they finished 14th in the Championship last season, which was a pretty good outcome. I know they faded in the second half of the season, but I think he would like to be at a club where he feels like he's got the opportunity to work and develop players. He's often mentions in press conferences about looking to develop the players, build them up. He's keen to give young players a chance, which people like to see. So he felt like a good fit in the summer. Haven't seen anything in the 2 or 3 months since he was appointed to make me change my mind. And I like the way that he's given somebody like Tegan Finn a real chance. And I see Voodoo on one of the comments that said, 99% of players in Tegan's position do not make it. Is there any reason to think he will? Well, Tegan has got an undoubted quality. I mean, there's been talk about bigger clubs already being interested in him. you look at that Tottenham game, yes, it's in the Virtue Trophy, but 4 goal involvements in one game for a 17-year-old is very impressive. We've seen the likes of Freddie Asaka, Caleb Roberts, lots of young players play in the EFL Trophy, but I'm not sure any of them have ever really been a standout in one of those games.
No,
Tegan was an absolute standout, and I think you mentioned, or somebody mentioned earlier on, about the QPR game as well. And again, that was against a young team. But when Tegan's played against players of a similar age to him at QPR and Tottenham, 2 big London clubs with big catchment areas who will not have players just making up the numbers, he has really stood out. So you can't guarantee it. He's only 17. A lot can change. But to me, he is the most promising sort of young player we've seen come out of Argyle's academy since the Michael Cooper and Adam Randall. Hopefully he can go on and make as big a contribution for Argyle as Coops and Rands did.
Yeah, no, he's definitely a different gravy to a lot of those early doors. So, it's exciting to watch, and he'll be patient, and he'll be level-headed with that. And I think once he gets those chances, and as with anything, it's all about the momentum in a game. If he comes into a game as a substitute when we're not playing well, or we're behind and we're not creating anything, he's not going to be able to show himself, is he? He needs to be there really at the moment when we are driving with some momentum, so he can create those chances, because he just looks so calm and composed in that game, even with the 2 goals that he scored. Back in the comments, Jack Smith says, evening. Earlier, Stephen Vaughan saying, is Tegan Finn the youngest to have the most goal contributions? You were just saying about that earlier in an Argyle shirt with those 4. I don't know, Chris, if you know if he would be and is. No.
I can't imagine there's been many players with 4 goal involvements in one game, full stop, Mike.
No.
Nothing,
for a while.
Not certain. Maybe maybe that Norwich game that you mentioned at the start, the 6-2. Did Morgan Whittaker have 4 goal involvements in that game?
Ooh, good shout.
Got to be up there, I'd imagine. Got to be up there.
I'll see if I can double check.
Yeah. I'll read a few more out before we move to the video. Pilgrim Petey, good evening. Good to have you in as well, mate. Good evening, boys. He says, got everything crossed for 3 points on Saturday. Yeah, said on Saturday night after the game against Peterborough that hopefully that was just a blip. Stephen Cooper also says, Plymouth Live is great, keep up the good work, Chris, and echo that to the whole team there. Daniel Perring, who's also reshared the show, has it appeared to pull up after a clearance on Tuesday? Don't see him featuring, but it's in the press conference that yes, he is carrying a little bit of soreness, Daniel, but cleverly said he is fit and he will be available. Ben Collins, again, and Ben, the new merchandise, most of it is up on the shop, so you can add to your mug collection, Ben, that you've already got, but good to see you in. And obviously Voodoo came in not long after that. And Nicky, why give him the number 1 if he's not going to be the number 1 goalkeeper? Echoing the point that Carl has been making recently, and then Chris. So when he came back last season, he was fantastic. Just look back at the Liverpool game and the saves he made during that game. I've said this before, said it on Saturday, it's great that we've got a problem now with 2 competent goalkeepers. Voodoo saying, I heard Carl Barnard is on tonight. Is that true? In relation to the fact that obviously, clearly, people haven't dialed in for Carl, they've just dialed in for me, haven't they? Isn't that what it's about? So Voodoo also saying, obviously, what was pointed out earlier, 99% of players in Tegan's position do not make it. Any reason we think he will? And Chris answered that, and as I also said, different gravy. No pressure, but if you get it wrong, I will retweet it in 6 years. Chris Voodoo. Obviously, always, we all hope he becomes a multi-millionaire Premier League player. Good banter from Voodoo tonight. Tegan is light years ahead of Freddie. Absolutely agree. Pilgrim PT. Stephen Cooper just saying that it's been lots of bad comments about Parkinson. I would like to thank him for his work for Argyle, and best of luck. I think, we echoed that on Saturday. I have been vocal but professional in my criticism, saying that over the last couple of seasons where things haven't gone right, at the end of the day in any business, when you have that level of disruption and problems, and especially when you're not fully in the business every day of the week, then when I say every day, at least based down here every week, then I think sometimes you have to take stock of the whole business. And clearly that's what's happened. It is what it is, and Andy's moved on. But we said on Saturday, can't thank him enough for where he has helped get Argyle over since his tenure in 2018 when he joined. So, right, just going to skip to the video of the goal. So
the right-hand side then, 2 hands in the air for Tegan Finn. Everybody for Spurs back defending. Headed down, goes in. And it's Matthias Ross who wheels away in celebration. Corner again then, from the same position in which Argyle scored from just a moment ago. It's headed goalwards and it's off the bar this time. Brendan Wiradu is going to hurl it into the Spurs penalty area. It's flicked on at the near post, causes a little bit of trouble. Finn will pick it up and drive it right-footed. What a goal that is! Good combination play down the right-hand side. Opportunity for a cross. Not taken at the first instance. Finn will pick it up again, delivers towards Benarous at the far post, headed across goal, Peppo!
I'm glad he scored.
Spurs will be really disappointed they haven't really spent more time in Argyle's territory.
Oh, Asani chasing after a ball from Tegan Finn. I think he might be onside. Asani round Gunter, chance for a fourth, beautifully taken by...
I'm just going to pause it quickly on that actually, because Andy, I could hear you saying in the background, Aseni and Peppo haven't really, been able to show themselves yet. And I know Bim's certainly said in the presser that, he's frustrated with his start to the season. I'm sure Aseni would echo the same sentiment. So when he's through on goal like that, he, the confidence, because that could have easily hit the keeper, could have easily missed the goal. So it was good that he was able to slot that behind.
Yeah, over the course of games, he's our top scorer. 4 goals, is it?
Well, that's true. Right. Yeah, that's true. Yeah.
Here's Asani, fouled as he plays the ball through to Dale, sprinting clear on the right-hand side. Back goes Casanova into Tegan Finn, who drives towards goal and scores. Since conceding the 5th, they've had a couple of really good opportunities. Corner is taken short on the right-hand side. Russell Denny tiptoeing his way into the penalty area, drives it in. Hazard can't keep it out. And Spurs do have that goal. Corner taken short. Patterson has it, corner of the box into Dale. He might think about a shot. Campbell drives it towards goal and scores. What a moment. Seb Campbell on his debut, 16 years of age. Out to the left-hand side and Burn again. That's a decent looking ball. Conor Hazard comes off his line, gets a punch to it. Nodded back towards goal, volleyed in on the turn. And Spurs do have that goal.
There we go. I think one of the other things, and we'll finish off on this because I'm conscious to move on, but the Tegan Finn's balls into the box, and also, more importantly, the corners, where we've sort of lacked. Sorinola has been a little bit off with that recently when he's been the main person to take those. And so, and even the flick onto Benarous, who then obviously headed it on towards Pepple. I mean, I want to see more of that on Saturday, Chris.
Yeah, I mean, 2 goals, 2 assists. You're right. His set piece delivery was really good. He's 17, so you've got to be careful. But his confidence will be absolutely sky high after that, and it must be in Tom Cleverley's mind to give him a start against Burton. I loved his second goal, Mike. Yeah, the way that he took a touch with a right foot and just moved it onto his left and slotted home, and he made that look so simple. And that wasn't a simple chance. He made it look very composed, calm finish. I'd play him on Saturday. I think his confidence.
The build-up play as well. Was from Owen Dale. I thought he's a good player, Owen Dale, and people have been knocking him on the Peterborough game, but I think he's a good player there. He's got a good touch on him and he can find a pass, which is good. Sorry, Chris, I didn't mean to interrupt you there.
No, that's fine, and it's perfectly fair points, and I would he was definitely the standout player, but it was great to see somebody like Seb Campbell come on, 16 and score a goal. We were just talking about Pepple and Oseni. Aseni is the top scorer with 4 goals. Now, I know 3 of them have come in the cups, but 4 goals in relatively limited time. I'm not saying he's a finished article by any stretch of the imagination, but he knows where the goal is, so that's a good sign. And it will have done Ben Papel a lot of good to get a goal. As Mike's mentioned, we saw him in the press conference after the game on Tuesday night, and you could see that had just given him a bit of a lift and a boost to try and get going. So we all know that Laurent Talai is the first choice striker for Argyle at the moment. That's clear. But if Tom Cleverley wants to try something different formation-wise, or if he needs to rest Talai and, say, play 70, 75 minutes in games rather than, trying to get him to play 90 minutes of every game, it's important one of those two, Aseni and Papel, can prove to him, to the fans, to everybody, that they can come on and do a job. And I think for Argyle going forward in the next few weeks and months, Tom Cleverley really needs to try and work on those two and get at least one of them who you would feel comfortable coming on with 15, 20 minutes to go in a game and can actually turn a defeat into a draw or a draw into a win with a goal.
Yeah, and I think the other important side to it is, it's not unknown that, I think there's been views even on the show about Papel, and elsewhere. And I think it's sometimes you almost want to say to the player, and it was important for Ibrahim when he said about this, and also even Barley Mumba when he said about it, not trying to overthink things and trying to do too much. Just play the game that you can play, and if it's going to come to you, and happen, it will happen. I think you sort of feel sometimes that they almost come out and go, oh, I need to try and do something to prove to everybody I can do something, but just let the game work. But again, they've got to have these chances, and they won't always, of course, but when we're flown a bit better, Dale's performance, as you noted, Andy, was off the back of a game where we just couldn't get into the game, and so it's impossible to sort of speak negative of a player in that game when the match was just a write-off, because we just didn't know as I said, Peterborough just came with a game plan and that closed us out, and it worked. So skipping back to the deck, obviously the subs that came on in the game, Hammond, Alex Mitchell, Ibrahim, Sebastian Campbell, Patterson, and then Laurent Talai and Owen Dale. So skip through that because of time, and then we'll come to. Sorry for the image being so pixelated, Chris, from stealing it off the internet. So 30 years of reporting for Argyle. So I've got a few slides which we'll get Chris to touch up on them. So 1995 to 2005, beginnings and promotions, as it's broken it down. So started your tenure joining the Herald, moving down from Kent, is that correct, to Plymouth, and obviously seeing Argyle relegated to the 4th tier in that year, promotion then via Wembley the following year, the League 2 promotion, and then the League 1 promotion back then to the Championship. So what was... give us a brief insight into you coming down and that decision at the time for you.
Yeah, it was just a good opportunity to come down and work on a sports desk at the Evening Herald. Those were the days, of course, when it was just newspapers, no such thing as websites and podcasts and blogs and all sorts of stuff. So a very different world to the one we live in now. But, for a young journalist, the chance to work for the sports desk on a great newspaper, at the Evening Herald. I worked with some fantastic people. I started in 95, as you say, Mike. I actually became the Argyle reporter in 97. I took over from Graham Hamley, who covered Argyle for 30 years as well.
Oh, wow.
So between me and Graham, we're not far short of clocking up 60 years between the two of us, which I think is quite an incredible achievement, really, for two journalists to have covered one football club for the same publication for such a length of time. It's been a tremendous privilege and honour to report on Argyle. 1997, it was a very different club then, Mike, when I started reporting on day to day. The ground, home park was completely different. Just everything about the club has changed. And yes, we are going through some tough times results-wise, but I think anyone that's well, anyone remembers watching Argyle in the late 1990s, early 2000s, and remembers, how dilapidated things were. You go to Home Park on a match day these days, and
You're spoiled.
you are. And somebody mentioned about Andrew Parkinson, and I think he does deserve a lot of the credit that the match day experience at Argyle is so much better. It's a nice place to go to. You can turn up at 12:30 and really enjoy the occasion. Whereas back in the day, when I first started covering Argyle, you'd probably just turn up at 10 to 3, stand on a cold, wet, uncovered terrace, get soaked, watch 4th division, 3rd division football, go home at 5 o'clock and be miserable. So, an awful lot has changed. And results aren't great at the moment, but trust me, Argyle are in a much better place as a football club now than they were back then.
Yeah, they were. I mean, just touch upon that for me, and I'll come to Andy. He's the oldest one out of us here, who's seen a lot of it. But I remember going to the Wembley. I did have the ticket stub for many a year, and I don't know where on earth that went now. But I wasn't massively into football then. I'm a big Formula One nut, but I still enjoyed the football. But I remember getting taken by a friend of my dad's because my dad was in the Marines, so was always away, and he's an Ipswich fan anyway, so we can't help some people, but he's I remember sitting in the new Lindus as it was, and I remember sitting on the pillar to one of the light tower pylons back in the day. That's my sort of I can't remember. All I remember is Alan Nichols' chant, obviously, who then sadly passed away in that motorcycle accident. That's my earliest recollection in the mid-90s. And I will also have to correct you, Chris, there were websites back then, because I started to amazingly program and learn HTML back in 95, 96.
Really?
So, that's IT stuck with me all these years. But yeah, Andy, it was a different game then, wasn't it? A different situation then.
Oh, a lot better back. Some say it was a lot better back then. When we've seen some ding dong games. I mean, I went to the Hartlepool game where we won 8-1. I don't know, were you there then, Chris? When Paul Dalton?
No, that was just a bit before me, but I've heard all about it. Yeah,
absolutely incredible. Under Peter Shilton. But there's been times at the back of the Denport and with no roof on it and snow and stuff and freezing cold in January and losing to Scunthorpe. And I think the most the funniest one I've been to is probably the Luton game, where just before the horseshoe was built, it was all like a bomb site, more or less. And all the Luton fans were in with the Argyle fans on the bomb site. And it was, I think we were top of the league, or going for top of the league then with Luton, and we beat them 2-1. It was great game. But lots of good memories. And,
did they do free ice buns back then, Andy?
Yeah, they didn't do free ice buns back then, no, but they did pasties and Bovril, mate.
It's sort of one of those. I mean, Carl, when was your first sort of game?
Probably around when you started to go. I would say it was before Luggy was in charge. Who was the manager before Paul Sturrow? Was it Kevin? When was Kevin Hodges' era?
That's right. Yeah.
Yeah. So around about then. So a fair time.
Yeah. So
when the Herald were the shirt sponsors, Carl. Then.
That's right. Yeah. About that era. Yeah. Some good times.
I do remember, just touching upon that period throughout Sturrock's days when we used to have the reserve games. I used to go to those reserve games, and I used to on a few of them. Chris used to stand and chat with you and the late great Sparksy on those in that Mayflower end way back then. So, and I used to love watching those games because you could see obviously the players that were trying to break through. But obviously good success with the Sturrock years, and then I sort of when I did the research with GPT, I asked it to sort of do also the evolution of the Herald and all that sort of stuff. So as it says here, 2006 to 2010, print shifts and championship era. Media evolution. 2006 marked a significant shift as the Evening Herald became simply the Herald. Deadlines were adjusted, accommodated changing reading habits, signalling the beginning of print media's adaptation to the digital world. In the Championship football side, Argyle established themselves in the Championship, maintaining mid-table positions. These were competitive years that showcased the club's ambition. Those struggles would eventually emerge, and they certainly did. It says here, Errington found himself covering both the club's most competitive era and the media's industry's early adjustments to the changing consumer behaviour. The dual narrative of sporting success and industry transformation was beginning to unfold. Is that what it felt like then, Chris?
Yeah, I couldn't have put that better myself. It's worrying that that AI can come up with something so.
Well, I should have
so
just blagged it,
coherent.
really. I should have just said I did it all. But yeah.
I mean, that is one of the beauties of what I've experienced is that, yeah, it's been a bit challenging, but the way the media landscape has changed and evolved, and sometimes people say, "Oh, you've done the same job for a very long time. Doesn't it get a bit repetitive or dull or boring?" And I say, well, when I first started reporting on Argyle, I used to go to a game with a notepad and a pen, and that was about it. My deadline was 7:30 on a Monday morning after a Saturday game. And now, as we've touched upon earlier, everything is instant. The live
and the
blog,
selfie stick,
match report on the final whistle. It's just so that sums it up very well. And I think the media as a whole, not just the Herald and what have you, have struggled to work out the landscape where print and digital work alongside each other. And it's a good way of putting it. And Argyle in the Championship first time round, 04 to 2010, to see the football that they played under Ian Holloway was definitely a highlight. They were knocking around 6th, 7th in the Championship under him, and we saw Hal Mosey, Norris, Buzaki, Frio, Ebanks, Blake and Hales up front, Connolly, Copland, Watton, what a Luke and Roman in goal. The names just reel off the top of your head because that was a great team, and it was great fun watching that team in particular during that period.
Yeah, I do still feel to this day, if Holloway had stayed, I think we would have made the playoffs because the team energy, the spirit, what we've typically been known for when things do start to click. It felt like that momentum was going. I remember, sort of speaking to Stapleton not long afterwards, and my wife was working for him then, and he just said to me, Mike, he was halfway up the road, so to speak, pulled into the services, phoned him and said, don't know if I'm making the right decision or not. And he said, only you can make that decision. And he decided to turn around and carry up the M5 rather than come back down. But you're going to do what you're going to do, what's right. But I did feel we were carrying some momentum there. And obviously we all know then, not long after all that, what happened and how we've stressed this recently, actually, when sort of talking about, Simon Hallett and the sort of views of fans, and everybody's entitled to their views. But as we know, Chris, and all of us here and those of us that are listening, there has been dark times, and you do really not want to experience those again, because far too often now, I think we're going to see more issues for more clubs. I think Simon alluded to it, like the amount of investment that's going on further down the leagues is a bit scary, because, it can easily go all wrong very quickly, Chris, can't it?
It certainly can, and, people can say what they want about Simon Hallett, but the way that the financial situation the club has been spelt out during his tenure, not just the recent fans forum, but the figures are there. I don't think many of us are expert on football finances and the intricacies of accounts. I think that's where Paul Byrne did a very good job at that fans forum a couple of weeks ago, where he made it understandable for most of us that don't know all the minutiae of accounts. But Argyle's a well-run football club. And again, we'd all like to see them getting more wins than defeats at the moment. But it is important. You can't keep harking back to the days when the club were in administration, because that's a long time ago. It's more than 10 years ago. But you do have to also learn lessons from the past. And I think it's important that Argyle don't overstretch themselves. And you look, there's numbers of examples. We know them all where clubs have overstretched themselves, are overstretching themselves at the moment. Yeah. And you might get some short-term gain from that, but there's quite a few clubs that have really crashed and burned. And I don't think any of us want to see Argyle that happen to them again, because we did almost lose the club. Younger fans might not fully appreciate that, but in those sort of 2011, 2012 years, the club, was very close to going out of business, and that's a scary thought, isn't it?
Yeah, and absolutely, and thanks to James Brent for keeping it all going, the lights on effectively. It's I mean, we all want the success, of course we do, and I think over our careers we've seen some great success. You're going to ride the highs with the lows. There's some that have only witnessed the younger generation that success in recent years properly. So yeah, it's always be careful what you wish for, and I will always. I'm not a happy clapper because of it, but I'll always stand by. I'd rather have someone that has a bit of a clue about what they're doing and is sensible with it, even if sometimes I'm like, oh, can we not find something to do that? I do appreciate it. The comments that are coming through are certainly picking up on all the players now through that 10-year. Voodoo saying Frio, Lario, Songo, Graham Burton saying don't forget Timar the Beast. Yet Marcel Sipe, Norris, Alex Head, Timar as well. I mean, some great memories back there. Stephen Cooper did ask, and I'll end this slide on that. What was Ian Holloway like to interview?
An experience. One of my more surreal moments in my time reporting on Argyle was when Argyle played Real Madrid out in Austria in that pre-season. And fortunately, I was there, reported on the game. And after the match, I was talking to Ian Holloway, and there was me and my colleague Rupert Metcalf, who was the Argyle reporter for the Western Morning News for many years. And we were interviewing Ian Holloway, and literally stood 5 yards to Ian Holloway's right was Fabio Capello, who was then the Real Madrid manager, surrounded by a scrum of Spanish journalists. And there was Ian Holloway in his usual way waxing lyrical, and I was just conscious of, while I was trying to listen to what he was saying, there's Fabio Capello right next to him, and I can't imagine there's been many other occasions where, if any, that Ollie and Fabio Capello have been in such close proximity. But I mean, that first season Ollie was the manager, 06-07 was a really good time to be around Argyle. They played some great stuff. And then the first season back in the Championship under Stephen Schumacher, it was like that. It felt as though Argyle had a good team. They were on the up. There was lots of excitement. So the Ollie in 06 and 07, and then Shuey 23-24, very comparable, I would say.
Yeah, standout sort of.
He started the season very well at Swindon Town, hasn't he?
Yes.
Look, he's got.
Went there and
got
kept
the
him
buzz
up
back
last
again.
season, and doing well now. Yeah.
Yeah, he can't stay out of it, as most of them can't do. Once you're in it, it's in your blood. And Stephen Cooper just echoing that, Carl. Nice to see Holloway doing well with Swindon. Then this slide, the 2010s, a crisis and rebuild. Argyle in administration in 2011, fell to League Two. Media ownership change. Local World acquired the Herald, beginning a new chapter. The Herald relocation in 2013 to Mill Bay. I was going to, until I did the deck and then it pointed that out, I was wondering actually where you did move, because we did, when I say we, the range, Chris, did look at the old ship printing and offices as our new head office location. But I'm not sure exactly why it didn't suit in the end, but obviously we went off and built that great big building that we're fortunate enough to have now. But that's quite an imposing building to turn up to every day, Chris.
It was fantastic, Mike. Yeah, I mean, that was again in the days when newspapers were, much bigger than they are now. The picture on the slide there doesn't do justice to the size of the ship. No. The big glass building that cost an absolute fortune for the then owners to build when it opened in the 1990s. It was the print, not just for the Herald and the Morning News, but national newspapers were printed there. I think the Radio Times was printed there, all distributed around the southwest. It was a huge building. Hundreds of people worked there. The noise and smell of the press when the papers were being printed for an old-fashioned journalist like me was a sight to behold. It was fantastic. A great place to work, and a real landmark in the north of the city before sort of Derriford Hospital and the associated sort of NHS facilities, came on the scene. You go out there now and the ship is surrounded by lots of new modern buildings. But at the time, it was that and the old Seaton swimming pool and and the barracks and not a lot else.
Yeah, and my dad was in the Marines, as I said, so I got to go into the barracks loads of times as a kid, and that old Seaton swimming pool as well. I saw a photo someone shared the other day, which was like, oh my god, that brought back a memory. I do like to walk it when I go out for a walk at lunch. Obviously, I mean the range head office is a fabulous looking building with the store there now. We're lucky to have that, and I work up on the top floor, on the 4th floor, and it's great. Just every now and then I'll sort of look out the windows or go out on the balcony and just admire the 360-degree view almost. Certainly when I go on the roof, I get that. So, but yeah, it's a great building to walk past and just stop and pause and reflect of what went on there, even though I hadn't worked there. 2016 and 17, Argyle's revival promotion under Derek Adams marked the start of the recovery. So anything, obviously you talked about administration, but obviously the relocation as well. Whereabouts down in Millbay is your offices down there?
Well, we're no longer in Millbay now. We went there in 2013, I think it was 2014, and we stayed there till COVID. And then, like a lot of businesses, we worked from home for a while, and that's why it stayed, sort of thing. So, again, another change that we've experienced in the media landscape. But yeah, enjoyed working at Millbay in the city centre. It's again another of the many changes that I've experienced working for the Herald and working in the local media industry.
Yeah, I mean, you said you've been there 30 years. It was my 20th year at the range in August. And I joined there with 19 stores. I think it was doing, I'm going to say maybe 150 million turnover. And then we're up to 278 stores now and 1.5 billion turnover. So seeing that change, like you have a different angle, but at 30 years at the Herald, it's a phenomenal thing to witness.
I bet you the person that takes over from Chris then, if the both previous reporters have done 30 years, no pressure.
Hopefully been an Argyle fan.
Yeah, well, no, of course not, as Chris will know as well. Certainly is not that. 2018 to 2020 is Plymouth Live and digital first. So more on the digital revolution in 2018 saw the website rebranded as Plymouth Live, and with all those fantastic adverts, as Andy Prowse noted earlier. Equally, as Ian from Pizzotti always points out, ladies and gentlemen, it's those ads that pay for the service overall and the things that they do as well with that Pizzotti site. So, shift to digital. New media strategy, live blogs, social media engagement and video content became the new tools of sports reporting. And Argyle's resurgence, promotions in 2019-20 and 22-23 returned us to the championship. And it also, whether or not these are accurate or not, but daily circulation in 2023, showing the dramatic shift from print to its heyday, 3,872 print circulations, and highlighting those two recent promotions. Again, more of that shift. Obviously, we alluded to you've got your selfie stick out now, Chris, and doing all that. It's on that note, it is a weird feeling. I mean, the guys here will echo this. This is our second season now doing the pod, but before we started it all started with me just celebrating Argyle going up into the championship and putting that on TikTok, and then suddenly that getting a reasonable number of views, not massive, but then just got me more interested in that. I was doing video content for the stores as what we called a 2-minute Tuesday. And I just started to get into it a bit more, and then Carl invited myself and Andy into what was then HP Source for a very short period of time. We did a couple of lives, and then we sort of formed separately as the Block 9 podcast, and we're still here today. And so it takes a bit of getting used to, and I enjoy it a lot now. But it's a strange world when you've always been sat behind the desk and not really in front of the screen.
Absolutely. I mean, like I said to you earlier, Mike, I started with a notepad and pen, and no one would really, know who you were. But as we've evolved into the digital world, we've done podcasts in the past, we've done Facebook Lives, we do all sorts of things, ways of interacting. I can definitely see the future. There's more video involved in the future for Plymouth Live and for our Argyle coverage. So that's something to work on, because everything is instant. People want to be able to interact and see things and hear things themselves. So yeah, it is unusual. I mean, we can briefly talk about this if you want, but I had the pleasure of sort of doing radio with Sparksy for quite a few years, and so that was a good little. That was my first sort of step away from just being solely a newspaper reporter, and doing the radio with Sparksy and sitting there every other Saturday and talking to the Radio Devon listeners and getting the feedback we got was good. And then, naturally having done that, then we had an Argyle Chat podcast for a few years at Plymouth Live, and you get used to talking. And I never wanted to go into journalism to be a TV or radio presenter. I was always a newspaper man. But as you've said, Mike, you evolve, you try things, you think, oh, there's a bit of an interest in that, so you try a bit more, you try something different, and it just grows and builds from there, doesn't it?
Yeah, I think what's sort of interesting with it all is we knew when coming into it, I'm always complimentary of the other pods, with Argyle Life and Pilgrim's Pod, and sometimes I'm doing so much in the background on this, whether it's doing merch, because I enjoy learning to do new things. I mean, I put it on the website. I mean, these fleeces are bought from Primark, and I do all the graphics, get the DTV or whatever it's called, print material, and then press it on here because my wife has the shirt press and had to do it. And there's nothing better than like going on, putting this on a shirt and proud to wear it, as sad as some of you might think I am. But when you see it and you do a design, you think that looks really good, because I've always been passionate about product for 15 years at the range. That was what I did as a buyer. So I'm always fussy, as these two will absolutely know, when it comes to branding. But it does take up a lot of time. Got to be conscious of a family in that as well. But we enjoy doing it. And what was the reason you stopped doing the Plymouth Live football podcast then?
There wasn't enough of us left. We lost a few people along the way. Gotcha. And we enjoyed doing it. And it was, again, following on from the radio with Sparksy, then doing the podcast. We did lose a few staff along the way as the newspaper industry has suffered, and we've gone into digital. But no, it's something I've always enjoyed doing, and getting a chance to talk about Argyle with different people is a good thing, isn't it?
Yeah,
I'm sure you found that.
Yeah, I mean, speaking of Sparksy, there was one memory that I do have of him, fond one back, and this has got to be, for those that can remember, Dave and Kerry were doing the breakfast show at the time. So, Chris, if you can remember what year that was, it's got to be 97, 98-ish, it feels to me, 99 maybe. So I was doing web development then as an apprentice initially in 97, I think that, 96, 97, after coming out of college. And I can't remember, I think I got in touch with Plymouth Sound, as it was then, about saying, I would like to try and do something with your website for you. And then Sparksy sent me an email back and then invited me into the studio down there. And Osaka, is that right? And
that's the one. That's the one. Yeah.
And I remember going into his studio while he was live, and he invited me in to see that and experience that, and we had a chat about a few things, and nothing really came of it. But that was my first meeting with him, and only sort of experienced that with him, other than at the games where I chat to Sparksy and yourself. But yeah, that was brilliant. Just he was so inviting and welcoming to for a young 17, 18-year-old I was then to do that. So. Right, so this really summarises your story so far. 29 seasons of reporting on Plymouth Argyle, multiple promotions, crisis coverage, media evolution. So, Chris, if I give you one tip, if I may, respectfully, the best presentation tool out there, and it's Gavin and I's little secret, sometimes we call it, but is this Gamma.app. It is the best. If any of you have to do stuff for work and it involves presentations, 100%, this is my favourite part AI generative tool of the year, and trust me, I have played with a lot. So that's what's helped me take GPT's timeline summary that I asked for it to spit it out into a format, and it did that in about 2 minutes, and then I had to just tidy it all up. So there's a brief spin through of Mr. Errington's time as an Argyle reporter. I will show it again. You've got the full hour and 28 minutes, which I'm sure contains a lot more interesting notes and points and over that career on YouTube now for Argyle Life. So I didn't tell Aaron I was going to do that when we were chatting earlier, but I thought I would. So, right, let's get on with it. So, Burton Albion. Are you still okay, Chris? Just on time? Yeah?
Absolutely. Yep. Fire away, Mike. Yep.
Cool. Obviously, there's a few comments coming in actually before I start this, so I'll just read some of those out. Stephen Cooper, David Bassett, Plymouth Sound. Oh, God, yeah. Voodoo, it's like this is your life tonight. Well, hang on a minute. I don't quite have a red book or burgundy book, but I've got this iPad cover. There you go. I pretend I've given that to you with a Block 9 piece of merch. Stephen Cooper saying, great move, Chris. Plymouth Live was a pain, but I learned how to do the internet, which is great. I just got to learn how to spell. Well, we all fall foul of that in these modern ways of chatting at speed. What's the best away ground for the welcome, Chris? Oh, there you go. That's a good question.
That is a good question. I mean, obviously the bigger grounds are really good for facilities and the press box and the press room, and you're sometimes lucky enough to get some food. Hot food's nice. I mean, nearly all the ones in the Championship last couple of seasons were excellent. I mean, I couldn't really fault many of them, to be honest.
What's the worst that you've been at? Can you say that?
The worst I've been to is Fleetwood Town, and only because the press box there at Fleetwood was sort of halfway between the front and the back of the stand. And one of the days that Argyle were there, it rained quite heavily, and Fleetwood, I don't know if you've seen any pictures of it, it's got like a sort of curved stand roof, so it didn't give you any protection to the rain. And some of the local reporters obviously experienced it before, so they turned out with some towels to dry their laptops off, but I was sat there with a laptop and nothing to dry it with as it rained. So it's purely that's the only ground I've been to in all my years where I've got a soaking wet laptop or got close to it because the stand roof didn't keep us dry. So that's why it's Fleetwood. The people there are very nice. I mean, most of the people you meet travelling around the country, particularly in the lower leagues, to be fair, are really friendly and welcoming. Burton Albion is a very friendly, welcoming place. Not the biggest ground, but you get a great view. The press box is very close to the pitch, the halfway line. Yeah. So it's nice going to the Championship grounds, but when you're up at Hull City or something like that, you're about 100 foot up in the air, and the players are like ants. And when you go to Burton, you really feel like you can get a good view of what's actually going on.
Well, I was just chuckling because Voodoo said Exeter's the worst, isn't it? Come on, that's just a given. Actually, before we kick into this, and forgive me, Andy, any questions you have you want to ask Chris?
Yeah, I was just you mentioned working with Sparksy on the radio, and I listened to many games, and I often listen to Greens on the Screen as well when they do the commentary. And what's your best memory of working with Sir Gordon Sparks?
It's not a game as such. It's just the travelling to games that we used to do there and back. There's lots of good moments in away to Southampton one season when he broke the press bench in front of him. The ISDN box fell over, and he carried on commentating as if nothing had happened. That was the professional he was. The listeners, I'm pretty sure, wouldn't have known. It was complete chaos, but he just carried on. It was the classic, like the duck or the swan, serene on top, and underneath the water was going mad. But it was just to spend time driving up, driving to. I do remember being up to Hartlepool one Easter Sunday because we were playing on an Easter Monday at Hartlepool. So we literally spent all of one Easter Sunday driving in the car, and we'd have some great laughs, some great stories. Sparksy was always one for for keeping count of Eddie Stobbart lorries, the big freight lorries. And he would say that, now let me get this right. If we passed any Eddie Stobbart lorries going up, that was a goal for Argyle. And if we saw them coming in the opposite direction, it was a goal for the opposition. Now, it might end up like 11-13, so it was never going to finish 11-13. But we'd say whichever was the most, Argyle would win or lose, sort of thing. So
I thought you were being a yellow car bloke.
We didn't do that, but exactly the same sort of thing, Carl. There was, we just had some great laughs. On a Saturday morning, we might be sat. I don't know why I remember this one particular, but we were sat outside a Costa coffee shop in the middle of Accrington one morning, and we were sat outside having I think Sparksy got me like a spiced something or other drink and hot drink because it was a chilly day. And, Argyle fans would be walking around, killing time before the game, and we'd sit and have a chat with them. And, so there are incidents in games, Andy, but, I think a lot of the Argyle fans will have their own memories of Sparksy. And I think one of the best things I could say about him was that the person that you heard on the radio and you saw interviewed and spoke and interacted with people, that's exactly what he was like.
Incredible guy.
All the time. Yeah. That was what you heard. The passion for Argyle, the enthusiasm.
He wasn't biased, was he?
He was brilliant. And
legend.
People would always say, isn't he a little bit biased? And he would say, no, I'm not biased, I'm partisan, and there's a difference. And he was passionate about Argyle. He was desperate for them to do well. But if they didn't do well, he wasn't afraid to highlight that as well. So, one of the joys of my job over the last however many years it is now, I'm trying to forget how many years it is, has been working with lots of good people, but particularly Sparksy,
Yeah. Carl, any questions for you?
Yeah, just about the injury list we've had this season and the season just gone. Is this probably been the worst injury crisis you can remember since you started reporting on Argyle? And what do you think, in your opinion, why are we having so many injuries? Do you think there's anything that we could do with training, or is it because we're signing potentially too many injury-prone players?
I think when you get an injury list as long as and consistent as this, Carl, it's got to be more than just one thing. If it was one thing, it would stand out a bit more, and you perhaps be able to correct it. I'm sure we've had injuries in the past, but it does feel like ever since day one of Tom Cleverley being at Argyle, the two things we've asked him about injuries and signing a striker, signing another number 9. Now, once we signed Laurent Talai, it was quite nice that we didn't have to ask Tom every time we saw him. But he's almost like a doctor at the moment when he comes in and does a press conference and he reels through the injury list. I mean, in today's press conference, for example, there's 5 players long-term sort of injury, and I'm not sure many managers, he just reeled the names off of the 5 off the top of his head, and that just struck me. It just shows you how much time he's obviously thinking about injuries and things like that the names just reeled off the top of he didn't even have to think twice about them. He just went straight through and named them all. Reasons why, there's multiple ones. Injury history is a factor. I think sometimes because Argyle don't have the finances that other clubs have had, that you take a little bit of a punt on somebody that might have an injury history but is a quality player. And I think Brendan Galloway is a good example of that.
And Benarous as well.
When he's fit and available, we can all see he's a quality player. But if he hadn't had the injury record that he's had, unfortunately, over the years, he wouldn't be playing for League One, for Argyle in League One at the moment. Training methods have got to be looked at. One thing that Tom said earlier on in the season, which I thought was interesting and I think was a valid point, was he said when they went to Austria in pre-season, the pitches out there were obviously, very lush green. You're in that sort of mountain Alp environment, and he said they were quite soft. And then you come back to home park, and Harper's Park is, I I think, as far as I understand it, almost identical to Home Park in terms of composition and how the pitch is made up. And the modern pitches are very hard and firm. And Tom was suggesting, and I could see it. I'm not a doctor, obviously, but I could see the point. If you go from doing physical work on some lush, soft pitch in Austria, and then you come back to Argyle and you're in peak pre-season and you're working the players really hard, I wonder if that was an issue to do with some of the muscular things and things that went on. And then there's just sometimes bad luck. I mean, Cornell Such, for example, apparently when he suffered this knee injury that he's out with at the moment, there was nowhere near him. It wasn't a tackle. It was just he twisted. He twisted awkwardly. Thankfully it wasn't an ACL, which I think by the sounds of it, they were very concerned it was at the start. So I think it's a training methods. Again, they do spend a lot of time on the coach. Do you have to weigh that up with all the travelling they do? Do you have to sort of think, well, yeah, you want to get workload into them, but are you better? They've got a nice video analysis suite, which serves as our press conference room. Maybe they need to do, and I know they do a lot of video analysis already, but perhaps there's days where you think, yeah, we'll give the training ground a miss and we'll spend a day in the video analysis suite. So that's a very long answer to your question, Carl, but I think it's a multitude.
I think very insightful, very insightful.
A multitude of things. I don't think it's as simple as we're signing injury-prone players, or the staff aren't looking after them properly. There's all sorts of issues. Because there's just too many injuries otherwise.
I'm sure you'll be glad in future press conferences not to be asking Tom about injuries, that's for sure.
The day we can go to a press conference and Tom says no injuries, he will be happy, and the assembled local media will be happy as well.
Spot on,
Yeah, well, Pilgrim Pete also pointed out similar situation to the start of the season on the uni. So, it's I don't know. I think you answered that as best you could, Chris, which is great. I'm going to then jump back to so the press conference insights. So we always like to give some of the quotes that handily Argyle put out on X. So I'd like to bring them and just update everybody. So on the upcoming match, Tom cleverly said, "It's clear that there's no easy games." He stressed this in last Thursday's press conference for Peterborough, and obviously it came back and really proved to us that anybody can get a win in this league. So we'll prepare to win, he said. We'll be as organised and competitive as we can. We need to be better at showing our attacking threat. It's not just going to materialise, we have to make it happen. Latest team news, on the opponents I should go to next. Really organised, intense. They are one of the physically bigger teams, but they are more than that. It will be a tough test, but we came through our last tough test away from home. We just need to show more consistency now. On team news, as we've alluded to some of it already, Connor Hazard is fit for selection. There's general soreness, but he's absolutely fine. Jamie Patterson is available too, and I can't wait to see him back on the pitch. It's good to get two experienced players back, and Cornell Such, as Chris was just alluding to, is 2 to 3 weeks away. If we are off for international break, he will only miss 2 more games. And then just alluding to Connor Hazard's readiness, he had a planned trip to the specialist yesterday to make sure things are settling down nicely with the knee. There was a bit of post-match aggravation, as you'd expect. You can see in his body language. I have no doubt he'll be ready if selected. Before I go on to Pims, anything else that you took of note from the presser then, Chris, today?
No, I mean there was the standard injury updates that we've just mentioned about earlier, but I mean Burton are the second game in a row in the league that Argyle are playing against the team that was bottom of the table, and obviously we know what happened when Argyle played Peterborough last week. So Tom was definitely, trying to make the point that there are no easy games in League One, and you would hope that message will get across to the players, because Burton are bottom, but they've played 2 games less than quite a few of the teams. And Argyle haven't got the track record in away games to be complacent or think they're going to win any game away from home. So, I think that's one thing that, they are bottom at the moment, but if Argyle take anything for granted, I think we know what the outcome of the game will be.
Yeah, absolutely. Thanks for, I think it was Andy that pointed this out to me. I did spot a Block 9 Podcast X comment appear, and it's Gavin, who must be listening. He should be home now. But evening, Gavin. So he's putting under our account in the chat. Chris, who did you have the best and worst relationship with as an Argyle manager? It's a great question.
Oh, yeah. I'd like to think I haven't had a worst relationship. I'd like to think that professionally, the managers I've dealt with over the years have appreciated, at least to some extent, my job and the fact that you try to ask the questions that fans would want answering. So I wouldn't say worst. Some managers were more keen to deal with the media than others. That Ian Holloway obviously really enjoyed media interactions. I'm not sure somebody like John Sheridan really enjoyed meeting the media, but that's not to say we didn't have a good working relationship. It was just something that I don't think he enjoyed it. And when you talk to anybody, you know whether they're engaged, whether they want to be doing it. But that's not to say that John was. I'd like to think, if our paths crossed, we'd have a good chat and discuss things. Ian Holloway was great. I enjoyed working with Tony Pulis for a short time. I'd had some dealings with him when I previously worked in Kent, and he was the Gillingham manager. So I enjoyed Tony's company. Derek Adams, Ryan Lowe, Stephen Schumacher. Yeah, I've been lucky. I suppose if you said the best, I'd have to say Paul Starrett the first time around, because Paul came into Argyle when they were in that sort of dilapidated state that I mentioned earlier on, Mike. And he was manager, chief executive, chief scout, team maker. He did everything, and he galvanised that club in a couple of years from something that was just a mid-table 4th division team to effectively he got them promoted into the Championship, although he'd left for Southampton just before that was actually sealed. Such a character, such a personality, so good for Argyle. I had a great time working with Luggy. Second time was harder for him. He had some sort of health issues, obviously, with the Parkinson's disease. And obviously, Argyle at the time were not in such a good place. But he was a real character, was Luggy. Thoroughly enjoyed. But like I say, I'd like to think that I'm trying to think of all the managers that we've had that we've had good relationships with, because they appreciate that being a manager, one of the jobs is to meet with the media at least once a week and answer questions. So so I've been fortunate. I've worked with some really good, friendly, helpful managers.
No, good. It was a great question, Gavin. So appreciate you listening in after a busy day and getting back. Great shout there. So thank you, Andy, for pointing that out to me. Bin Pepple's press conference, crucial goals and minutes. There's no quotes from this. I listened to it just to pick up on it. But obviously reflecting on getting a vital goal, playing full 90 minutes against Tottenham, acknowledging it was much needed after personally a disappointing start to season. Season opportunities as well. I know, Chris, you asked a question about, I think it was yourself, Talai, and and his obviously coming in as that number 9, and he's had a great start as well. But it's all about seizing those opportunities where you can, and himself, and he spoke about Aseni a lot. It's just doing what they can do and getting the chances to do that. And they always know with formation changes or depending on results, other circumstances, because touch wood, we don't want Talai to get an injury. All they can do is when they get that opportunity has come in. Aseni's done it a few times, as we noted, but has been in a short spell. But yes, Pebble, I'm sure, would love to get in a league game and get a goal. Team spirit and young talent, that was asked of him as well. Again, I think most of these probably, Chris, in fairness, were from you. But in terms of the young, with Seb Campbell and Tegan Finn, and Pebble said that they were all buzzing for them getting their goals. There definitely seems to be Chris, and obviously you sit in these press conferences. I'm fortunate when Gavin does the Diamond Hospitality, and I get to go to some of those, and you hear the interviews before the game and afterwards, even if it's off the back of a good result. But they do seem together as a squad, and I know people might think that's easy to say because they're not going to stand up there and go, "Oh yeah, I'm fed up. I want to get home. Like I don't speak to anybody." But you can genuinely see that in them, can't you? And when you're sat in front of them, more so.
Yeah, and they're a friendly bunch as well. You know, they'll come into a press conference and, you know, shake your hand and have a chat. So I think, you know, generally when Argyle get the recruitment right in terms of the personalities, that tends to then lead to some better results. Doesn't guarantee it, but I always say about Argyle players that they spend, as teammates, they spend more time with each other than probably any other set of football players in the country. You know, maybe Carlisle or maybe even Truro now with the travelling that they've got to do. But those guys spend a lot of time with each other. It's not just the turn up for training, go home, and you don't see them again until the following morning. They live locally. They spend a lot of time at a training ground, at games, on the bus, going up, going down. And if you've got a good group, and this is a young group, as we all know, but in some ways, it's not bad to have people of the same sort of age and background and interests. You can build that into a strength, and hopefully that's what's going to happen at Argyle. That these young players, as they settle in, as they gain more experience, as they spend more time with each other, you build up that camaraderie, which is going to stand Argyle in good stead, hopefully going forward. It's very much a work in progress. You guys know that, don't you? It's
what happened with Schumacher, though, wasn't it? Shuey built a team like that, didn't he? And he had
and that was,
you know,
and that was one of the good things about Paul Stark first time around, Andy, as well. He'd take them out and they go paintballing and balling and things like that. You know, he encouraged the team to spend as much time together as possible. And I agree that I think, you know, this current lot, they're learning their trade in lots of ways. They're learning League One football. They're learning what it's like to be a regular first team player and the expectations that comes. You know, it's great to play in front of a full home park, but there are expectations that come with that. The fans are going to rightly demand performances that, you know, live up to expectations. But I think it's going to take time, but there's some good personalities that I've met in that squad. And if they keep working hard and they can learn from Tom Cleverley and grow their confidence and their self-belief, I do think there's a team in there. It just might take a little bit time to come to the fore than we would all ideally like.
Yeah, and getting everybody, Edwards back after his bans, and you know, Mackenzie eventually back in, and all that stuff. I mean, what I liked about one comment being made, and that is, you know, obviously it was asked of him. I think it was from I forget his name, the guy who asked questions after you in that instance. Forgive me, but. You know, Bim talking about obviously it being a development program, obviously signing that. I think it was a 4-year contract, wasn't it? And Bim said, "Well, I feel like I'm ready and I'm good enough now." And I like that because he didn't sort of answer it to sort of say, "Yeah, no," and I'm looking to learn a lot. You know, you need that confidence and a bit of arrogance as a footballer to sort of say, "Well, no, I think I'm good enough." You know, and so you know, now I've got that goal. You know, it gives him that bit of lift. So Gavin's now jumped in on his actual account. I can see in the comments now after Voodoo saying, wait, Gavin has Diamond Hospitality. Carl responding in the comments while on here, apparently so, Voodoo. He's never mentioned it. Gavin saying, harsh chaps, harsh. Voodoo, you're on my invite list. And of course, Voodoo, he's still waiting on that bottle of Bordeaux, as mentioned on the previous show. Going to the next slide, so obviously the game, we always pick this slide up, but Pirelli Stadium on Saturday, 3 p.m. kickoff. Referee is Tom Reeves. Anything of note with that referee, Chris, that you can recall?
Not off the top of my head, Mike, but I haven't had a look yet as to what he's done before. A lot of the referees we're getting this season are ones that we haven't had for the last couple of years because, you know, when you're in the Championship, you get the select two referees. The referees we're getting now obviously generally do League One and League Two games. So he's not one that stands out for me. I'm sure he would have done Argyle before.
Yeah. I've just seen your note as well in the chat, Chris. So any final thoughts before you head off? Appreciate we've been on, what is it, an hour and 30 odd if we take out the 10-minute countdown. So yeah, really appreciated for your time tonight. But final thoughts and Saturday's game.
Well, first of all, thanks for the invite and having the chat with you and Andy and Carl. Appreciate the invite. It'd be nice to look back over the years. Burton on Saturday, who would have thought we'd have gone to Luton in those circumstances and win away? But Argyle need to start picking up points regularly away from home. And this strikes me as a sort of game where they need to go and get a result. Doesn't have to be spectacular, doesn't have to be 3-0. But I think for their own confidence, for the belief of the fans, for everything, they need to go to somewhere like Burton Albion and get a result. Now, whether that means a draw or a win, but get some points, some points on the board. I think that's, if they can build on that Tottenham under-21s game, it's only in the Virtue Trophy, but a win is a win and 6 goals are 6 goals. If they can follow that up with a decent result against Burton, with the Wigan home game coming up and the return of Ryan Lowe the following Saturday, then they can try and build up some momentum, because that was the really disappointing thing about the Peterborough game last Saturday. You felt like Argyle were beginning to make a little bit of progress, and then Peterborough, bang, you feel like, well, are we getting anywhere? So go to Burton, get a result, ideally a clean sheet, whoever the goalkeeper is, and then let's start building from there.
Yeah, no, 1,600 tickets sold as Pilgrim Pete is just slotted into the chat. So, yeah, Chris, we'll let you go. We will get Chris on a few times throughout
the season. Thanks again, guys.
So,
thanks, Chris. Take care,
Chris.
Yeah, safe trip to Burton.
Okay, cheers. All the best.
Bye. So we will go back to the slide deck, and I promise, guys, we will wrap up now. It's been great, and we appreciate Chris coming on, and it's good just to show some of those insights of his journey reporting on Argyle in his 29th season and doing it as well. So hope you enjoyed that. We've got referee Tom Reeves, assistant referee Lewis Rapper and Joe Simpson, and fourth official is Dale Baines in this game. Gavin did send me over his lineup while he was stopping off on his journey down. I'll quickly spin through this and just get the guys' thoughts. Luca Ashby-Hammond in goal, completely agree with that. Matthias Ross Mitchell and Brendan Wyerdo again as that back three. Barley Mumba and Matty Soranola again as the wing backs. Malachi Boateng and Law McCabe partnering up, so no Ibrahim showing there. Jamie Patterson coming straight in for Gavin, Owen Dale, and then Laurent Talai. Now, bearing in mind, he didn't have much time to sort of go through this, so he might have made some changes in reflection, but he'll tell us in the chat, I suppose. Gavin, Andy, apologies. Anything you'd do different there?
Well, first, I've been called worse, so now not a lot different. I do like the two playing behind Talai, Owen Dale and Patterson. I think they're both creative players, particularly Owen Dale. Not seen enough of Patterson to comment on him yet. I think he'll come good. Bally, depends what Bally Mumble we're going to get on Saturday, really. He could terrorise defences, we know that. But he could also have duff games like he did against Peterborough. But other than that, I think that's a really good, strong team. I agree with Ashby Hammond in goal. You can't throw Connor back in straight away. I think remember the last time we had this situation where it was Cooper and Callum Burton at the time, wasn't it? And it took an injury to Cooper to force Burton into the team. I'm hoping that's not going to be the case for Ashby Hammond, because he's a good keeper, learning his game still. But I would stick with Luca at the moment.
Yeah,
rightly so. And that's it. Yeah,
rest good. Stephen, sorry, not Stephen, it was Graham Burns saying that's a better format. I can see it. Trying to make sure that these were a lot bigger and clearer tonight. Carl, anything you would change? I mean, Ibrahim, man of the match, back-to-back games.
There's no way you're leaving Ibrahim out, so I would bring him in. Law McCabe from the bench again, but maybe give him a bit longer at the end of the game as a impact sub. For me, Hazard's got to start. Like Chris said, we haven't got another virtue game until November. He's not going to get any game time, and it's not like he's an outfield player where we can bring him on for the last 15 or 20 minutes to get some game time. For me, he's got to start. It's the only way he's going to get match fit. And yeah, apart from that, and Ibrahim, that's a pretty solid team.
Good. Just look at the comments. Pilgrim Pete is saying Hazard has to start. Voodoo saying Hazard doesn't have to start. Odd comment. Definitely good banter.
The only criticism with Ashby Hammond, Mike, we said this the other night, didn't we, about how he just parries the ball away. Why can't he just, he parries it into an area where there's going to be a tap in, and that's what happened against Peterborough. That's the only criticism.
It was. He could have done better at that, but he did stop us. Sort of against Luton conceding and more goals and stuff like that. So yeah, it's picking, isn't it? Because he has been pretty solid. Stephen Cooper also saying, "Cheers, Mike. Great polos and sweatshirts, good quality. Thank you. Glad you're enjoying them. I have got photos from Steve of them, but I forgot to download them off my phone, so I'll bring them up on Saturday. I did just put it up on the screen, and earlier it went to the left, but for some reason it's going to the right. There's a QR code there. If you go to the block9.co.uk, I have refreshed that website with a bit of branding tweaks recently, and also there is on the top menu a link to the shop. It's an Etsy store. I haven't fully finished it yet, but I'm going to get the mug. I put some listings up for the sweatshirt. It's up there for 20 quid, and the t-shirts. Hang on, if I just pick this quickly.
I tell you what, this might be a perfect opportunity, Mike, to do some Block 9 selfie sticks.
Love it. Just as a note, this, although it's in black, I don't know why when I sent the template to get printed, I do like a contact sheet where it has multiple logos on. I did that in black instead of the green, so the actual t-shirt will have that All Things in Argyle in green. You got the polos that Steve's got. There's a white one with just a logo on the front and a blue one. These will actually, this one isn't, but they will. The white is from Primark as well. The t-shirts I will make sure are a good knit. I don't want to do something, folks, where I have to charge 20 quid for a t-shirt and 40 quid for something like this, this sweater, hoodie even, because it's a lot of money, so I do try and keep costs down with time, and obviously whatever you buy, whatever that contribution is, helps go towards what we do here. So jumping back to here, so Burton Albion, their season so far, they are bottom now. Obviously it was Peterborough until they beat us. Currently sit bottom of League One, 24th, with 1 win, 2 draws and 4 defeats. Offensive and defensive woes, their goal statistics highlight their struggles, having scored only 5 goals while conceding 10, with just 2 clean sheets recorded this season. Current form analysis described as very poor. The team has yet to secure an away win and continues to grapple with a notably fragile defence. Summer reinforcements, key transfers into the squad like Jake Beasley, Fabio Tavares, Dylan Williams, blah, 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 to bolster their team. Cup and season trends, excuse me for that. Cup and season trends, I won't even read that bit out. I'll go to the next slide. Their formation and tactics, this is what it's picked up. Gavin normally does these slides for me, so I had to think on my feet with GPT for these, but it's saying that Burton's primary setup this season revolves around a 3-4-2-1 or a 3-4-1-2, utilising 3 defenders at the back, complemented by active wing backs. Attacking variations, they have shown flexibility, occasionally shifting to a 3-4-1-2 or a 3-5-2 to introduce more attacking options. Defensive structure, 3 at the back. Obviously it hasn't been good for them. Their defence, an offensive spearhead. In attack, much reliance on Jake Beasley as a central focal point, and no surprise, coming up in a minute, he will be noted as their key player. Andy, as you just said, wrapping up, are you just by blah blah blah? I'm conscious of time, but key player updates. Say again.
That's not me.
No, was it you, Carl? Was it?
Yeah.
We've got a private chat window, and I can see it popping up with comments. Yada yada. Yeah, thank you, Andy. Obviously Laurent Talai, who's in strong form and playing really well. Bradley Ibrahim, as we mentioned, back-to-back man of the match performances. So agree with Carl. It's hard to leave him out. Stability with and consistency with Malachi Boateng as well. And will we see maybe Hazard at some stage or even starting? Who knows? Jack Beasley is their key player. Spotlight, primary attacking threat up there, physical presence and a poacher's instinct. So if we can neutralise Jack Beasley, then that will probably neutralise any threat from...
Well, if he's playing for Blackpool, he shouldn't be a problem. If he's playing for Blackpool, it shouldn't be a problem.
Is that what I write the wrong photo on?
Or new to him, or two.
I was trying to get all this in quickly, all on my own.
On that note, guys, good night from us. No.
Yeah, exactly. So I lost my wingman in the presentation deck preparation. So, but scoreline, I've gone with a 2-0 score prediction. What do you think on that one, Carl?
I would probably go along with that. Hopefully we can pick up another clean sheet. And yeah, back-to-back wins would be lovely away from home. And like Chris said, it's a game where we need to really get some points from. And we should be looking to do that against the bottom of the table Burton, hopefully.
Yeah, Andy, what are you thinking of?
Well, depending on Eddie Stobart laurels, I'm going to go 14-7. No, in seriousness, I'm going to go for a 2-1 win to Argyle.
Yeah. I'm feeling that the guys will want to turn it around after Saturday, and yeah, but we just don't know because every game is sort of up in the air. Any team can win. That's the beauty of these leagues. So right. Then just moving on, Steve's gone 2-0 Argyle as well. Beyond the Pitch, the segment that I started off with last week to introduce, where I just asked GPT to give me some tedious links between the two clubs, and this is what it came up with. So the brewing link. Burton is world famous for its beer, Plymouth is world famous for its gin. Put them together and you don't get a midfield partnership, you get a hangover big enough to keep you out till Tuesday. The waterway links. Burton's whole history comes from the River Trent and the canals carrying barrels of beer across the country. Plymouth's whole history comes from the sea sending ships around the world. So on Saturday, it basically is just two ports going head to head. One with battleships and the other with beer ships. There you go. So just something random.
That's why Wayne Rooney came here then.
On a beer ship. So our next show is Burton. Obviously, clearly I haven't spelt that right at the end. Obviously, post-match on Saturday at 8:30, as is our usual slot now. And as always, folks, if you can spread the word and give us a follow, subscribe, press the bell and all that jazz would be fantastic and appreciated as always. And if you do want some merch, then please go in and look at the mug designs. I've done a few different options that are up there. I've got the graphic, effectively that would be the wrap, and yeah, as Andy's got that, I have very much tweaked. This bit now has green in the block 9, which is what it originally had, and we'll have a white outline because I wanted there to be a bit more of the green in this white logo with the changes. I always fiddle too much sometimes, but anyway, you will see
Walden mission.
You'll see them up on the site. So just reading some few comments at the end here. Thanks, Block 9. See you Saturday. Block 9's the best. Thank you for that, Steve. And as I said, Stephen Vaughan then saying 2-0 to Argyle. He's going Hazard, Mitchell, Galloway, Dale, McCabe, Ibrahim, Benarouz, Finn, Patterson and Talai in his lineup. So yeah, other than that, folks, that's about it. So any final words you can see, that side, the logo tweak there. Any final thoughts from you, Andy, before we sign off?
No, I just hope we can turn it around again. I think if Burton score first on Saturday, we might get a similar result. But hopefully that's not going to be the case, and we'll score first and go and get the win, pick up the 3 points, and travel back down the road all happy.
Yeah, and Carl, yourself?
Yeah, just trying to get the win and get some positive vibes back again, because I think it knocked the stuffing out of us, the Peterborough result, because I thought we were on a wave and we kind of got knocked off that wave again. So we need to hopefully pick up quickly and pick up some more points. I think Burton's the perfect place to do that, especially after Tuesday night. I think if we go with certain players like your Tegan Finns, they've got a point to prove to try and stay in the team as well. Let's get the 3 points and roll on to the next home game against Wigan Athletic, which is going to be another tricky one, especially with Ryan Lowe coming back to home park again.
Yeah, let's hope that we can get one over our ex-managers, as we failed to do that in recent seasons, haven't we? So, everybody, thank you very much for joining us tonight. Hope you enjoyed Chris's company. It was great to have him on. As you know, we do aim to try and mix things up a little bit where we can. So, who knows who might be next on? If anybody wants to join us that is related to Argyle or associated in some way, or knows someone, then get in touch with them and say, give the guys a shout. We do actually and would like to understand more about people in different roles within the club and what they do and what their day-to-day is like at home park. But other than that, we appreciate you sticking with us. Have a great rest of your evening, and let's look forward to Saturday. And can we make it a back-to-back away win? Other than that, folks, catch you later.
Night, folks.